that type of player though. Like this year, he's taken a hit with his like his PR and everyone. But I'm sorry, JT Miller. I'm a big fan of that guy. That guy can play hockey. He plays hard. Like he plays the right way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I know his contract really
That's
makes him look ugly,
that's what it
but he's
is.
a good player.
No, he is, but that's so if you put a JT Miller in the New York Rangers, then
Yeah,
I would be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, because that's the
Makes
right
sense.
thing
Huh?
to do. Like I
Mhm.
don't think that would be a good deal. You'll never get me to admit that that's a good deal, but under the circumstances where it's your time and you're gonna go and contend for a cup and you're literally all in, then yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in. I accept it, right? But Vancouver, get out of here. Especially after the guy says, I thought we were tanking? Get out of
I
here.
know.
It
How
makes
can
no
you be
sense.
tanking?
Hi, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we discuss the New York Rangers and what they need to give themselves a legit shot at the Stanley Cup. We also discuss the shakeup in Vancouver as they part ways with yet another head coach as they try to right the ship. And lastly, we go on some rants about NHL trades, tanking, contracts, and of course, some Leaf talk inevitably slips in surrounding prospects Matthew Knies and their trade deadline options. Do the Rangers have the secondary scoring to win in the playoffs? Is Vancouver going to try and somehow fix this mess, or are they going to tear it down to the ground and tank for Bedard? Is Matthew Knies a guy that can fit into the Leafs lineup this spring, or will he be moved to bring in a more established player for Kyle Dubas Maple Leafs? We're back and ready to share our views and opinions for anybody that wants to listen. So please, take a load off, relax, and welcome to Hockey for Fanatics.
Ref,
Yeah,
what the
we
fuck
joined
was
together.
that? Like, honestly, these dirty ass Metro teams, they're all the same.
What's wrong?
Giancarlo's complaining. What did you
The
see?
guy just demolished Gensel from behind right into the boards. If that's not a 5-minute major, I'm gonna be pissed because I've seen 5-minute
did it?
majors get called
Who
for
did
less.
it? Was it your buddy?
I don't know. I didn't see who did it, but I wouldn't be surprised. Who is
Well,
it?
how do you not
Oh,
know?
it's Hathaway. It was
Yeah,
Hathaway.
he's the other one.
Yeah, he's a dirtbag.
Yeah,
He's another one.
yeah, he's another one.
Holy shit, that was that's a 5-minute major. It has to be. I've seen less get called. He directly hit him from behind, crushed him into the boards, went head first.
Nice.
Oh,
Suspension incoming.
Capitals, Rangers, Islanders. Pick which one's dirtier.
Well, I don't know what to say, but I learned my lesson after watching Montreal get their butts handed to them by Boston all the time. At some point, you have to stand up for yourself a little bit. You can't just pretend that the physical side of the game doesn't exist. I'm not saying you have to be full of goons, but you do need to prepare for battle. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So,
Sure, you can pretend. What do you mean?
Well, when you trade a first-round pick for Ryan Reeves and then just let him
and then let him go for nothing.
disappear.
Well,
Yeah,
Oh,
that was a
I'm
weird one. I don't
I'm
know what
agreeing
they
with
were
you,
thinking.
Mike. You
Yeah.
know I'm agreeing with you.
No, I know.
It's just
I know.
that I know, and Giancarlo, man, they've not been the same since Reeves left. Why did they do that? By the way, you have any
Is
insight?
Maurice left?
No, Ryan Reeves.
Oh, Reeves.
Why did they get rid of? Was he on was he in the expansion draft?
No.
No. They got rid of him before that, I think.
Hold on, let me
Why?
see.
Do you recall why?
He just didn't really fit in with the team. He wasn't a fit because they're kind of like the Leafs. They don't value those kind of players in Pittsburgh. Like they don't want the goons. They don't want those guys. Like they take they'll take the guys who forecheck and stuff. He got a 2-minute boarding penalty. That is some real bullshit, honestly.
They haven't
Well,
won a
wasn't
cup
it-
since he left.
What do you mean? He wasn't there that long. Reeves was there like not even half a season.
Good to
Reeves,
have a body.
Reeves wasn't on the cup teams either.
No, they got him in
Yeah, they got him
on the
after.
draft. They traded like a first round pick to get him. Then he played like half a year, I think, and then they traded him. I think
He was
it
a healthy
So-
scratch a lot.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like Crosby went crazy asking for him, So they
Yeah.
went and spent the first round pick to
Mm.
get him,
Mm.
and then they traded him.
I
It's
don't want
just
to.
like I don't know what the hell that
I
was.
don't want to
He
read too
didn't
much
fit.
into that, but that's where maybe Giancarlo's saying he didn't fit. Like that, that's sort of the
He
magic
didn't fit
word for
into their
like a
scheme.
dressing room problem or clash of personalities.
No, I
Maybe
don't think
I don't know.
so.
I don't
Like you
know.
see
I
all
don't
these
know.
videos, like of him and Kessel were like best friends, right? Like
Well,
he would play
Phil
practical
doesn't have
jokes with Phil.
Phil doesn't have the best resume for dressing room
Mhm.
camaraderie either. So
Yeah, no, being best friends with Phil doesn't really get you that far
yeah,
because he doesn't
But
he
you know
doesn't
what?
talk to anybody.
There's a guy named Crosby that I think his voice matters in Pittsburgh. So if
well,
Crosby wanted him and
right.
wanted him bad, like that's for me is the thing that
But that's my
made me go, "What's going on
but
here?"
that's my point
It,
exactly. Like if
it's a
exactly,
combination of
I
things.
100% agree with you, Tomas. Like if a guy like Crosby is gonna say, "I want this guy on my team," and this is Sidney Crosby making this decision, and then the guy's gone, what you gotta? It happened, so why?
So you're thinking Crosby saw something during those months that he didn't think
At some point
like
they
Good
had to.
stuff.
it
Who
was. I
knows?
don't
Yeah,
know.
at some point they had to.
Maybe.
They had
It
to
just
vet it through
didn't work.
Crosby, but they
But
said, this guy's not working, right? Like it's
there was no chemistry with him being there. Like he didn't fit into the style of game Pittsburgh, especially back then. Like they were like speed demons, right? It was
yeah,
just all quick forechecking, get the puck, shoot, forecheck, forecheck, forecheck. He just was too slow. He looked like a sore
yeah.
thumb out there with the team.
And
So
and again, I don't want to speculate, but I guess that's what I'm doing, so I'll own it, I guess. But every player comes with pros and cons, right? If you look at any
Mm.
player, you can make a list of pros and make a list of cons. And he's not the he's not the greatest hockey player. I would probably make room for a guy like this, but there's an aspect that we take for granted a lot of the time, and that's where I'll say like the gelling in the dressing room and stuff like that. So you always have to give the benefit of the doubt, I guess, where you're like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why would they get rid
I
of a guy
know.
like this? So that's immediately where my head goes. I'm like, there's something we don't know, and it's probably something on the con list that they don't want to share with the media because then it becomes like, mudslinging or whatever. But at the end of the day, they walked away from this guy and they had given up a
it,
first round pick for him. Is that what you said, Giancarlo?
they gave him a first round pick. Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
vocal too, Ryan Reeves. So I mean, who knows? Like maybe he got into an argument with management. Like you just
Yeah,
something probably happened
he does
closed
come
doors.
across that way in some of his social media stuff that I've seen him do where he's
Hmm.
very boisterous and loud. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I look at guys what they do on the ice, but I suppose whether you're a team player or not, uh, it also factors in. I don't know. You know more than
You
we
know
do,
what
so
though? The pattern is there though, because for the Rangers, the same thing happened with him. Like in the Rangers, he became a healthy scratch after he
Yeah,
was like a big part of that team.
right.
This year, he was a healthy scratch, and they moved him for next to nothing.
Yeah.
So the pattern's there. Something like
Yeah.
he must wear
He
thin
must want to
on.
play. I guess I understand it from his perspective, right? Like if he's a guy that's like I want to play. And then they're like, yeah,
Sure,
but we're going to use you when we need you. We're not going to play
yeah,
you 80 games,
bingo.
right?
maybe.
But then
Yeah.
he
I think you
he's
just nailed
loud
it.
and he sulks about it, and then it starts to wear on the rest of the guys, and then you're like, it's a problem all the time, and you know. So yeah, I
Same
think
with Vegas. Vegas just let him go for nothing too. Did he walk? I think he walked.
Vegas.
I'm looking at it
Yeah,
now.
'cause he went
Traded
from
from Vegas
Pittsburgh
to
to
the Rangers.
Vegas.
No, he was
It
traded
went from St. Louis
for a
to
third
the
round
Pittsburgh Penguins,
Yeah,
pick.
St.
right?
Louis to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Vegas, Vegas to the Rangers.
Yeah, third round
Uh,
pick.
Now he's on Minnesota. I think I don't even know if he's
yeah,
playing.
he's
Yeah,
on mini right now.
Minnesota. Yeah. He has
Yeah,
played 27 games with Minnesota.
I
there's
always see
definitely
him
a trend.
reading. He's always reading out the lines like at the start of the game. Like
Yeah,
he's that guy, that pumps up the team.
right.
Like that's
Right.
his job. He does that well, but for some reason or another,
Yeah,
he falls on you know
this is like you said.
in bad categories for the coach.
It's a
I guess.
pattern, right? You can't deny it, right? Like whether, and then maybe you could say all the coaches are kind of old school or whatever. But at the end of the day, like it is a pattern that we've discovered. So
Hey, I would take that guy on my fourth line any day. Like,
I agree.
I don't like goons, like goons that just fight and they can't do nothing else. He actually makes an impact on the game.
He
Like he
hits.
bodies
Yeah, he hits.
people.
Yeah, he
Like
hits.
that's the thing I see
And
with
he's
Simmons that
he's
really
a
kills
force.
me.
Yeah.
He can't skate enough to catch people to hit them. Like he's so old and useless now, right? And at least Reeves can get there and he bodies people. He has an effect on the game. Like he pisses people off. He has that
He has a
intimidation factor
presence.
for
He has
sure.
a presence. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So for me, I think that's still like I would take him any day over like Hunt or Simmons
Oh
or
yeah.
anyone on our fourth line easily. Even Ashton Reese, no question. You
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
Kind of a different player than Aston Reese, but
Sure.
I know the point that you're getting at. Like having a guy like Reeves, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, especially when you have guys like Mitch and stuff. Like last night was like Dave and I go on about it all the time with the Leafs. That it drives us crazy. Like Liljegren gets filled against the board, similar to what Giancarlo was just saying that happened to Getzel. Filled, and it was by Miller.
Yeah,
And
Keandre
Miller's a
Miller.
giant,
I
right?
saw that.
He's
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah,
giant.
he's huge.
But the thing is, he hits him, turns around to like, okay, I'm gonna drop the gloves with this Leaf because
Yeah.
she's expecting a Leaf to come,
Yeah.
and
Nothing.
everyone just sort of
It
looked
was
up in the sky.
it was very bad. I saw it, and I
It
don't
was bad.
like the Leafs were playing last night, obviously, and I don't get to see them that much because they play a lot of the time when Montreal's playing. So I did watch the Leaf game. I saw that exact sequence, and the exact thing came through my head where I'm like, where's the response? Where
Nothing.
nobody, and it was like, exactly like you said, everyone's looking up, like what, like let's pretend that we didn't see that or something, right? Like,
Yeah,
what the hell? I
I'm
don't
just gonna
know.
mind my business and hope he doesn't look at me. Like it was just so sad.
Am I
Like
the
it just,
first
Keandre
one?
I don't
Miller,
know.
Am I the first one
he's
in
another
this?
one. I like him a lot. As much I hate liking Ranger players, I think that he's got the potential to be an animal.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be good. And like think about it, he's paired with Truba.
Yeah.
Okay, so those two guys in the
Oh
playoffs are gonna murder people.
yeah.
It's just
Don't remind me.
crazy.
They
Uh,
did last year too. It's just oh, and he's learning everything from Truba too. So that's just gonna make him that much better.
yep, good
Oh
player. I
man.
like him.
I just kind of curious to know what he's gonna ask for money wise because I think he's a RFA this year.
Yeah, they won't be able to like think about it, right? They got Truba that's getting paid. I think it's like 9.
8.
Isn't he up there? Like close to
Yeah.
9?
8, I
Yep.
think.
And then you got Fox, who's up there too.
Fox,
And
yeah,
then
9.5,
and
I
then you're
think.
gonna have to pay Schneider and Miller soon. Schneider obviously not that much, but Miller he might be able to command maybe 5. You say? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
We'll see.
easily. I
Yeah,
think anybody would give him 5. If they can get him under that, they're wow. But he's at a very minimum. I think he's gonna ask for 3.5, right? And I don't know where they're gonna fit that in because we've looked at their roster already, and they have major cap issues coming next year.
Yep.
So
But
many RFAs.
they also have money going off the books, I think too. So the
Who?
Rangers are a weird one.
They have Halak. That's it. Halak and
Like that, isn't
Sammy
it dead
Halak,
Blay.
money?
I don't see anything.
Dead
well, they
money
have
coming
dead
off the
cap.
books?
They have dead cap, so they
No,
got
but those,
D'Angelo, Girardi, and
yeah, but those are
Shattenkirk.
buyouts. That's not that. You're right. That's coming off.
Three and a half million there. That's coming off the books. That's quite a bit.
That's true.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
that helps.
Halak's gonna come off. That's another 1.5. So I mean, yeah, they do have stuff coming out.
Sammy Blay is the other one, 1.5.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's 6
but they
million
got
right there.
this Hedel. They got Hedel, Lafreniere, Kravtsov. Kravtsov's still with them?
You got all their names wrong, man.
What are you talking about? Oh, I should have let you
It's
say
a
it.
laughing. It's a laughing Shittle and Krapsov.
And then like you,
Nice.
and then Miller
And
and
Krakow.
and Miller. Yeah, Miller's an RFA. Yeah, Schneider's got another year still. But
They just re-signed Ben Harper. That's another big goof to a 2-year minimum wage. So that's all right, I guess.
I saw
I don't
that.
know.
And I was just like, they love these kind of guys, man. They just love them.
yeah, but you need
Drury
you need
does,
some
right?
guys that are like, if you're gonna have more expensive players, You need to couple them with a guy that's not as expensive but capable. It's just simple
True.
math, right? Like you can't overpay everybody. You have to have
Yeah, but
some of those tandems.
Giancarlo was onto something when he was saying that that team lacks offense. And like what I look, my biggest takeaway from watching the Rangers last night, Rangers are a very good team, very good playoff type team. They're amazing, but they lack scoring. They
Yeah, man.
do. Like
Oh, like we
they had
said,
scoring from nobody's,
but like we said,
and
they needed that
their
secondary
first line was
scoring.
nothing.
They needed that
Yeah,
secondary scoring to chip in. Like we called it at the beginning of the year. Lafreniere needed to take that step. They needed him to take that step. Kako needed to take a step. And I know that they've been, I mean, Kako's been okay. What's he doing now? I know he's been scoring
The
lately.
only one
Nine
out of
goals?
those 4 draft
Eesh.
picks is Shittle.
It's,
Shittle's been better, but
yeah.
the other 3
yeah,
are not doing anything.
It's not enough. Like I understand that they're still young and they're getting better, but it's not what they
Are they?
needed, especially, well, yeah, again, in the sense that you don't want to give up on a Lafreniere, but the reality is they need that guy to be better, potentially a little earlier than he may blossom down the road, right? Like that's where it's going
Yeah.
to be trouble for them. Like,
for sure.
what are they going to do? Like they're going to have to make a deal, I think. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to trade Lafreniere, but like they're going to have to
Why
think
not?
long and hard. Well, that's exactly what
Why
I'm
not?
saying. Like long and hard, they're going
If
to have
you
to think
telling
about that.
me Vancouver were to like think about like a Horvat for Lafreniere plus, you tell me you don't do it?
I think
Like
that they do.
that gives you an automatic like two lines which you need, right?
Yeah,
You
but then
need
Horvat
like
is, yeah,
why
it,
not?
it
Something like him.
it's true, but Horvat would be UFA, right? So you would have to you would want to if you're gonna trade a Lafreniere, I would want it to be for
Oh, for
more
sure.
than one
For sure.
playoff run, right? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
more than
yeah.
a rental.
No, no.
yeah,
But
You'd have to have an extension in place when you make that trade for a guy like when you're giving up a first overall pick, you better
right.
keep Horvat for a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
That's for sure.
but I like the way you're thinking though. Like that's the type of deal that you got to be looking at. It's a good segue to go talk about the mess in Vancouver, but that's the type of deal that you'd want to be making if you're the Vancouver Canucks. Um,
Hmm.
when you've got a guy that's obviously going to skip town, and you
Yep.
want to get a young player that's got potential, and for Lafreniere is probably a couple of years into his development already. I know we've talked about him before. He's 21 years old, so he's not an 18-year-old kid. So he should be rounding into form within the next year or year and a half, right?
Yep.
Based on the magical 200 game mark, 250 games, whatever. Keeps on growing every single time we talk about Lafreniere, um, but
I
either
think
way,
he's still a worthwhile prospect. Like, you know who else would be a really good one for the Rangers if he becomes available is Larkin for Detroit. I think he'd be a really nice fit in that in that town. He's American. He just has that thing about him, you know. I think he'd love that. Like he the bright lights and stuff. I think he'd do
well,
really well over
what
there.
what I like about them getting Larkin would mean that they have Larkin, Zabinajad, and Trocheck as their top 3 centers, and none of them are top line centers. So I would encourage that.
Trocheck, I don't understand that. I like we talked about
Hey,
this
he's
when he
producing
got
though.
him.
He's
Yeah, but
producing.
like I don't know. Like you just
the
7
coach,
years.
the
I
coach thing.
know
I don't know if you like him for 7 years.
it's a
Like
lot.
that guy's gonna drop. Like he's one of those guys that like the way he plays the game, he's always hurt. And I find like
Always. Yep.
those guys drop off very quickly. The drop off just is so significant and it just comes so fast. It just I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that contract at all.
Yeah,
He's
Like
a
that's
negative 9 this year. I
it's
didn't know
fair.
that.
It's fair to call that out. Anytime you're getting in a guy that's 29 years old for a 7-year deal, even if he's having a decent year, it's but this is what we've seen from the Rangers. I said even some of their other contracts, like even Zibanejad, as good as he is, like if you look at how much you're going to be paying this guy
A
when
big
he's
contract.
yeah like $8.5 million, he's not going to be making he's not going to be producing like anywhere close to that number at the end of that contract, and that's what you're going to be paying him. So they obviously have whatever you want to call it, their plan has included a little bit of that, so they know they're paying that premium, and that's what I'm actually a little worried about when it comes to Montreal, because the makings of this team were crafted by Gorton, and
Yep.
he is the one that signed Panarin. And even though the
Yep.
Panarin deal is not brutal, it's actually okay. It's not as bad as the Zibanejad one, but did he sign Zibanejad? Let me double check.
Yeah, he got both of them.
I think he
But
did. No,
what
he
do you
was
mean?
signed.
Panarin's almost 12 million. You know that, right?
No, I know that. But when I say
Oh,
isn't bad, it's only another 4 years, right? Like it's not a deal that's gonna take him until he's like 39 years old, right?
Who's that?
I
Panarin?
see.
Panarin, yeah. Let me
Yeah.
see.
So Zibanejad wasn't signed by
No,
Jeff Gordon.
thank God.
Jury did.
That makes sense to me
Really?
Yeah.
because
But
yeah.
he just signed it.
So Gordon, yeah.
It's an 8-year deal, right?
So Gordon
Hmm.
signed Panarin for sure. That makes me happier at least because
So you're saying after he got fired, Zibanejad signed? Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Because he signed
yes,
an 8-year deal, so it had to be recent.
yeah,
October 10th, 2021 is when he signed.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm looking at
Okay.
it right now. It says signed by
So the new guys got him.
Chris Drury.
Chris
Okay,
Yeah,
Jury.
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. So that makes me at
He's
least
also the guy who took
happier.
Trocheck.
But again, that's when you look at a GM and what he's doing, he's literally throwing piles of money in term, right? Because their window to win is supposed to be in the immediate term, right? Whether or not it comes to fruition, I don't know. We'll see. I like the Rangers, but I agree. They did need the young players to do a little bit more. But we've seen other teams like this, right? Like other teams in the league that have this kind of there's an older core and then a younger, we'll call them a old core and a young core, if that makes any sense. So the Rangers are a team like that. Dallas is a team like that, I think, where you got like the Jamie Benns and the Tyler Seguin. And is Suter still with those guys? He is,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's there.
And then you got there's another team, LA. LA's like that, where they have the Dowdies and the Kopitars, right?
Hmm.
And then they got the other younger guys that are supposed to be like they're waiting for those guys to just hit stride, and then all of a sudden you have this balanced lineup or whatever, but and they're praying that those old guys don't run out of gas before the young guys are ready, right? So
Yeah, like what's happening in Dallas right now is a perfect example of that.
yeah,
The young guys are taking over
yeah.
and taking that next
But that's
step for
what
the
you
team.
want. Exactly what you want, right?
Sure.
Like exactly, when you look at those other teams I mentioned, the Kopitar is still leading the LA Kings, right? Like I know that they got Fiala is doing okay, but these other young bucks haven't really done it. Who's the first round pick?
How about Quentin Byfield? What do you
That's
guys think about him?
that's the guy I was just
He
thinking of.
he doesn't look very good right now. No,
Oh man.
that looks like a bad one.
Oh,
That's
I
too
had
bad.
hope for him too.
He's a big body. He's got good
Hmm.
hands, but the problem is his skating, right? Like his skating's not up to par, and he just hasn't fit in. And I think the problem was when you signed Dano, you take away a lot of his
Yeah,
potential, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like you've basically taken that spot from him to
yeah.
develop.
Right,
So now you're asking this kid to play on the fourth line,
right.
Yeah.
maybe some third line minutes and develop. I don't know. Like that was a weird thing for me, and that's exactly what happened. He hasn't developed at all, and I don't know. We'll see if eventually it pans out, but
But either way, that's what when you look at GMs and what they're trying to do, that's the model that I seem to be seeing, and multiple teams have done it, where you still got that older core that you're paying, and then those younger guys that you've drafted are supposed to be the guys that you're crossing your fingers on, right? And you really hope those guys come through for you. Otherwise, it's not going to be pretty. What'd you guys think of the Vancouver uh, shakeup? We'll call it the Vancouver shakeup.
Dave, what do you think, buddy?
Coaching change?
Guys, man, we discussed this at the beginning. We said these guys are going all in. Once they signed Miller, they made up their mind what direction they were going in. But from what I heard, I think initially they wanted to sign Horvat first, and I think that fell apart, and then they just went right to Miller. But why would you do something like that when this is the part that gets me with this team? They went all in with Miller. His contract hasn't even kicked in yet. It's like
Right.
they had fired Green last year. Boudreau came in. Then they didn't want to give him a long-term contract. So I think they gave him, was it a year and an option? I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about now they can't fire Boudreau. He's kind of like a lame duck coach. So if they fire him, they're gonna have a third coach to pay. So it's like it comes down to management in the end, and you're gonna get guys like Horvat probably one out for sure now. Then you got guys like Quinn Hughes. Does he want to even be there eventually if this thing doesn't turn around? Like, you got to be careful of the way you manage a team, and it's too important. I like that's why I like the way Montreal's doing it. They started from scratch. Everyone knows what they're trying to do. You got a team like Calgary and Vancouver. They're kind of in the same boat when you think
Yeah,
about
you
it.
need
They're
that.
all
You
in.
need that clarity. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm not surprised. I thought eventually I thought they were going to do better in terms of fighting for a playoff spot, but I'm not surprised that this team is going to fall apart eventually. We said they were all in. This was their last couple of years to do it, and losing Horvat is not going to help them unless they get a good return. But even then, you guys just named some of these prospects that have not panned out. There's no guarantee about anybody. Not everybody's a Bedard, right? So it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't mind the teams you guys discussed, LA, Dallas, the Rangers, where they have that old core and that young core. I think that's not a bad way to build when you think about it, because you slowly push out the old core that their big contracts are being alleviated, and then you got your new core coming in. But there's some teams that have no plan.
Right.
Just going year by year. I don't know. I don't know. That's not the way I would operate.
They're just like stuck in neutral. Like you never know. Like you're never gonna take your shot, right? Like it's just like
No, neutral's the worst.
Yeah.
We've been there Leaf fans have been there for years. Neutral's the worst. And Vancouver's, unless they're trying to tank now, but then again, why would you get rid of Boudreau? I'm thinking in my head, are you guys trying to bring in a Torts type where you're going to start getting these wins?
I don't know what to make of the like. I was following like what was it Rutherford was saying. Rutherford's the president, and we didn't hear boo from Alvin. I was laughing on the internet with the amount of he was getting lambasted on social media because they're like, "Where is the GM? Like, no one knows where this guy is. He doesn't say boo."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I even made the mistake earlier in the year in the podcast. I think I said Rutherford was the GM, and you guys correct me. I think Dave corrected me saying, "No, no, Alvin's the GM," and I'm like, "Who?" Right? So it's like
I don't blame you. You never see the other guy.
Exactly.
Right?
The guy's never there. So,
Yeah.
but
we don't even know if he speaks English.
Yeah. I just
like, you're worried about the Habs don't have a GM who doesn't speak. They want someone who speaks French there. I don't even know if this guy speaks English.
He does. He does.
I was saying we never heard this guy.
I haven't heard him say anything. But back to the coaching change. Like I'm like, okay, so what are you guys gonna do now? So are you going to tank? Like Rick Tockett's gonna be hired? Like what? How is that any different? I don't understand. Like was Boudreau just saying screw it? I'm not, because if you're a GM and you're like, listen, Bruce, this is what we want to do, play the kids, right? Like it's not. You can tank naturally by playing the kids. You're gonna lose by playing kids. Like it's just what's gonna happen. When you play inexperienced players, they're gonna lose. So you could have said that to the coach, and then if the coach says, "Screw you, I'm not gonna do that," then I can understand where you're like, "Okay, I got to get rid of this guy." So that's the only logical explanation for me. But like, and Vancouver won their first game with Tocchet, right? And then they lost
last. Surprising though, but that's not surprising. A lot of teams win with the.
But then they lost last night. They got killed.
Yeah, but did you see? Did you see his face after the game?
Yeah, I was speechless. He couldn't say anything. Yeah.
No, but that's the telling thing. That interview tells you exactly where Tockett's thinking is. He's not coming in here to be some guy's whatever of duties that he's just gonna be there and collect a paycheck and just tank. He cares. Like, he called his team soft.
Yeah, he
It's a
did.
second game.
Yeah.
He already called them soft
Yeah.
and inexcusable. Like, he's not
Love
coming in
Tocchet.
there to, like, Tocchett's going
Tommaso,
to
but
like, use the whip for sure.
But Tommaso, then what are you gonna do? You're gonna get these guys. You're gonna push them like Torts does and eke out some wins and ruin your chances at a top
But
3
that's
pick.
what I mean. I don't
It's just
understand what
stupid. The whole
was
thing
the
is
point. I
it's
don't
all
get it.
stupid. It's all stupid.
I don't
The
I
whole
Guys,
don't
thing
get
is
it.
when you
it's
can-
obvious what they're doing.
What is it?
What's
It's
that?
very, very
You
obvious.
tell.
They're building a Crosby-less Pittsburgh Penguin management team. They're all
Nice.
ex-Penguins.
Well,
Rutherford, Tocchet, and Alvin.
yeah, even Alvin
There you
too.
go.
Oh God.
Alvin
Hey,
was our assistant GM.
Maybe they'll
but
win the
apparently they were-
lottery
they-
then.
but I heard
There
they
you
were
go.
tired of Rutherford in Pittsburgh by the
Oh
end.
yeah, we were happy to see him go, especially right at the start of the year. But that's essentially what's happening here. Is they're just bringing old pieces back from management, right?
Yeah.
Because Alvin was his assistant GM in Pittsburgh when he was a GM in Pittsburgh, and now he's the president. And he put I don't think I think he came after Alvin. I think Alvin came
Yeah,
and then Rutherford
I think
joined,
that's
right?
right. Yeah.
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 What a
You know,
mess.
you know what? I'm not a Vancouver guy, so I don't know the ins and outs. But looking from the outside, if I were to wager a guess on what's going on, I think there's a huge problem in terms of there's too many voices, too many, chefs in the room, right? I think the owner, the management, like all of them, they're all over the place. I think the owner wanted to keep Bruce, and I think the Rutherford wanted his own guy, and I
Yep.
think that was the problem. I think Rutherford wanted to fire him. Like Bruce even said it. He goes, "I was expecting to get fired in October." Like that's crazy. He knew he was getting fired all the way back in October,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, the owner said no. He said, "I don't want that to happen," and they kept fighting back and forth. And
Right.
then apparently there was something else with Tocchet. Like he has a clause
Yeah, he had
in
a
his TNT
he had
contract.
4 weeks notice or something like
4 weeks,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
heard
that's
about that.
another thing that popped up that extended the firing of Boudreaux. So I think there's just a philosophy mix between back when Dubas and Babcock were around. You just have different philosophies, and they just keep fighting amongst themselves because you have to be on the same plane. And I think that's the problem with Vancouver right now. Like the fans just want them to tear it all down and start fresh. They don't want to do that. They refuse to do that. Like, but what was weird was Rutherford even said in his interview, he goes, "I thought we were tanking." Like he literally said that.
I don't understand.
I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
I just don't
But
understand.
that's what I mean. Like, what kind of a statement is that to make? I've never heard a
Yeah.
president. If the president of the Montreal Canadiens made that statement, do you
Oh my
realize?
God.
Like, it would have been Armageddon for 3 weeks. Like, that quote would have been following. It would have been quoted on the radio every single day,
Yeah.
right? I don't understand. I thought we were doing this. Like, okay, like what the hell?
So you signed Miller to that monster contract to tank?
Yeah.
Like, like what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't get it. I don't get it.
understand.
And then he
bad.
said he made the comment about when I first joined, I thought we needed some minor surgery, but
Yeah.
now it looks like we
Now
need
it's
major
major.
surgery. I'm like, dude, that's a big mistake. Like that's a
Come on.
big mistake. Like
I think that winning streak they went on at the end of last year they kind of fell for that.
oh,
Guys,
People know you don't fall for games where there's no pressure,
it's
right? We've
garbage
seen it with other
time. It's
teams.
garbage.
Yeah, you don't. It's a false. Those are
it's
false wins.
damn Cole. Damn Cole hit all the
He
warts
played out of his
last year.
mind last year.
That's
but
it.
hey,
That's all it was.
I know, but it's also once they fired Green, that's when they turned it on. It was a combination of things, but they were so far behind. When you're playing loose, that's what happens, right?
For sure.
They have the talent. That's the thing. They have talent, but sometimes the ingredients don't make what you want to make, and they don't have the right ingredients. They just don't.
So what does this guy do now? What do you think the best
The
thing?
other guy.
The latest is
Haha.
so they signed Kuzmenko, right?
Right.
And apparently the idea of the Kuzmenko signing is to keep Pedersen happy because he's him and Pedersen are close, etc. He gives Pedersen someone to play with. And so Pedersen's going to be their guy moving forward. JT Miller is going to be their guy moving forward.
Oh boy.
Demko is like Besser, Demko, Myers, anyone not named those two are off. Like even Hughes, maybe. Like that to me, that's crazy. I don't know how you trade a guy like Hughes,
I
but
wouldn't.
who knows? Who knows what Vancouver's up to now? And
It's gonna be trouble. We've talked about this before with Vancouver, looking at this
Yep.
cap friendly page. My goodness gracious, with Oliver Ekman Larson, Oliver Ekman Larson with
Carlo,
this
can
money.
you guys what is their core? If you had to pick their core 5 core guys, who are they?
we
And you
just
can't even
named
count
it.
Horvat anymore because Horvat won't
Yeah,
be there.
Pedersen's there. Pedersen
Pedersen,
he,
JT Miller, Hughes, Demko. I think those are your four
and
for
Besser.
sure.
You want to put Besser in there, maybe?
Besser's not part of the
What
core.
do those
No,
guys have in
he's
common?
They don't have much else, bro. Look at their roster.
I know.
What
That's
do
what
they
I'm
have in
saying.
common, Dave?
None of them are Canadian.
Hmm.
You're in a Canadian
Okay.
market. You have no Canadians on your core.
They've always
already-
kind of been like that, haven't they? They've always kind of swayed to the Swedish and
And have
European.
they won
Yeah.
a cup? But have they won?
They made a final.
Okay, but everyone's made a finals except for the Leafs.
There's the final
So-
again. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
applauding that, by the way. I was just joking.
That team that you're talking about right now, Vancouver, that they made a final. When you think about what we talked about, you guys talked about before about the pushback when what's his name, Liljegren was pushed around and no one did anything, which is not uncommon here anymore. That's why this team will never win. When the Sedins were getting pushed around and they had no pushback, they were done. You just know how to beat a team like that. It just
No,
when-
but
when you're tough-
Vancouver's
when you're
not that team. Vancouver's
No, but
actually a
that's the
pretty tough
point.
team.
Come on.
No,
I'm
they're
talking
a
about when
nasty bunch. They scrap it out. They fight. Like look what Myers did to Giancarlo's boy. What's his name? Bernies for Seattle.
Oh,
The young
Beniers?
kid.
Beniers, but
Beniers.
he's a kid.
He murdered him.
Yeah.
But I'm not
Just
talking about but I'm talking about going back to the finals team that Boston knew how to beat those guys.
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when push comes to shove, those guys are gonna crumble. If your top core guys are not willing to battle and fight and do whatever it takes, you're not gonna win.
It's true.
You're not.
It is something that can be exploited. I won't argue with that at all. It's true.
But JT Miller's that type of player though. Like this year he's taken a hit with his his PR and everyone but I'm sorry, JT Miller, I'm a big fan of that guy. That guy can play hockey. He plays hard. Like he plays the right way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I know his
Player.
contract
That's-
really makes him look ugly,
That's what it
but
is.
he's a good player.
No, he is, but that's so if you put a JT Miller in the New York Rangers, then
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, because that's
Makes
the right
sense,
thing
right?
to do. Like I
Mhm.
don't think that would be a good deal. You'll never get me to admit that that's a good deal, but under the circumstances where it's your time and you're gonna go and contend for a cup and you're literally all in, then
Yeah.
I'm in. I accept it, right? But Vancouver, get out of here. Especially after the guy says, "I thought we were tanking." Get out of
I
here.
know.
It
How
makes
can
no
you be
sense.
tanking? How do you tank when you just sign that guy who's going to be 32 next year to that contract? How?
I know. It
And
doesn't
now what
make
do you
sense.
do? But how do you get rid of this guy now?
Who, Miller, you
I
mean?
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's 29. He's 29.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He's 29. Still old, in my opinion. Anytime you hit 30, that's the magic thing. I'm not saying you fall off a cliff, but I don't expect his numbers to increase.
He had one solid year,
Yeah,
guys, last year.
It's true. He had an amazing year last year, and I don't know if he'll ever come close to that again. He's having a decent year, a good year this year. Like I think he's coming closer to his real offensive, consistent output.
Yeah.
Right.
What's he averaging? 70?
He's just under a point a game. Yeah. So
And
70,
that's where he should
70
be.
plus. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't think he's an 80-point man. I think he had an amazing year last year. He can get 80 points. Sure. Great year for you. Do I expect him to get that every year? No, I don't. So anyway, I would
Listen, it
do whatever I could to get rid of that contract. Without
didn't even start yet.
that,
That's the best part.
but that's
it
the
didn't even
thing.
start yet.
There's no terms on it, so you can move it if someone wants the guy. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how. All I'm saying is think of it this way: if someone if someone would have signed this guy to a UFA deal for this money, then you're there to give it to them. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be
Yeah.
like, you can't do it now, but in the summer when people are clearing out money, you say, listen, we're going to give you this guy for nothing. Like you literally take him off our hands for us, right? Because some people would, like Tommaso said, I would, and he does fit in some teams that are ready to win now, right? So maybe there's a chance that you can move that deal, but that's the first. If I'm going to prioritize, Horvat obviously goes first because he's a UFA, so he's got to be moved before the deadline, and you get maximum return. But the next guy on that list is the JT Miller contract that I do whatever I can to
Well,
move
we were talking
this
about the
summer.
Rangers and how they shouldn't trade for Horvat if it's a rental in terms of moving a guy like Laffy. Um, how about a guy like Miller? He's going to have term. Is that something they should be targeting?
I don't see it.
Who
I
do you
just
mean
don't
they?
see
The
it.
Rangers?
Yeah,
Yeah, like he's saying, would the Rangers trade for JT Miller?
because we were saying that
I
they
see.
should trade for Horvat,
Ooh,
right?
yeah, I
But
don't.
then there's no term.
That would be a great deal
You just said they
for
had no money.
Vancouver. That would be a great deal for Vancouver if you could do that. But yeah, that's the challenge. They signed Trocheck, and that was essentially the money that they had talked about Miller before for a couple years, and it never
Oh, he's an
materialized.
ex-Ranger, isn't he? Is that where they got him from?
He is a Ranger at Tampa Bay. I think he was on as well.
Was he a Ranger? My
I think
goodness.
he went
Yeah.
from Tampa to New York to
Yeah, you're right.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
For some reason,
he
the
started
Rangers
as a
fans
Ranger.
love him too.
He
So
started as
I
a
don't know.
Ranger. He started as a Ranger. Yeah.
You'd have to take back salary. That's the first thing that you'd have to do. Like
Oof.
any type of trade for Miller, you're looking at, yeah,
That's gonna.
something's got to go back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not gonna. I would do whatever,
Yeah, I don't think
anything
he's
in my
getting traded
power.
for a few years. Yeah, he might, if he goes, it's going to be like 3 years or so. Once that contract is less term on it. How do you trade him now? I don't think you can.
Nah,
And that's
it's
why these guys are going to be, I think these guys are still going to try to be winning next year. They're not going to be in any kind of rebuild. They may retool, but they're not going to rebuild. They just
oof.
won't. Vancouver has never rebuilt, and neither is Calgary.
And let's be honest, we're talking about the NHL here, right? Like trades just don't happen. Like we
Yeah.
could dream up all these trades all the time, and
It's true.
like this league doesn't do these type of trades. They don't.
Well, you're talking about
Yeah.
the Miller deals and stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
like you don't see these big guys getting moved. Like right now, the way that the league is structured, nobody has cap. Nobody.
Yeah, the
So
only
how?
contracts
Yeah,
that move are the
Well,
ones
it
that are
does.
expiring. You're right.
yeah,
You're
like
right.
it's just ridiculous. That's why this league's so boring. Like NBA at least has like some interesting movement and fun. Like you get excited. Like even NFL, there's lots of movement sometimes, and NHL, it's just like I hate to be an insider because they drum up all this garbage because you know that's not going to happen. Get out of here. Year after year, oh, the trade deadline, this guy, and then nothing happens because no one has cap room. How are these trades going to happen? Like that's what I mean. Like the NHL needs to be creative. Like maybe like come deadline, you get like an extra 2 million to play with or anything just to drive up like excitement and ratings. Like they're stupid. They're just old. They don't think about the new generation because the new generation, the young kids, that's what brings excitement into your sport. They like seeing these trades. They like to see something going on. Like,
Well,
can you
it gives you
imagine being an Islanders fan right now?
yeah.
Like you've been sitting there for like
Oh, it's
2 years
tough.
now waiting for a trade to come, and
But
you're oh, this guy Goudreau's coming, and then Goudreau doesn't come. JT Miller's coming, and JT Miller doesn't come. Like how many times you get kicked in the nuts, and you're like forget this. Like it's
yeah.
just stupid.
But that's why. Hey, look, we've all seen that. How many times you guys? I mean, you guys are the Leaf fans, so Toronto's the craziest market for every single major player available.
Yeah,
Leafs are going to get them. The Canadians are the exact same way. Whether it was Vincent Lecavalier or Marian Hossa, oh my God, Brad Richards. The amount of rumors that I've heard over the years. Oh, this guy's going to be a Canadian. He's on his way.
yeah,
And I have accepted the fact that and that's why I say I'm all in on tanking because it is the right thing to do because you're going to get your young player that you're going to draft. There's a little bit of cost control there. You don't have to worry about overpaying them until later. But I am of the mind that I would pull the eject handle really early and tank again. If I don't get the right guys, I'm willing to pull the eject handle when they're 25 and let them walk. I would trade those bums and not re-sign them to their second deal and say, okay, we didn't win by the time your first contract expired. You're out of here. You know what I mean? Like that's the way I would do it. I
Your
wouldn't
first contract, meaning your entry level deal? Is that what you're talking
your
about?
second deal. So
Oh, I see.
so for
Yep.
example, Montreal, right? Montreal with Suzuki and Caulfield. If Montreal doesn't win anywhere close to within this window of Suzuki's contract, I trade that guy. It's that
How
simple for
long
me.
is this contract?
Let me double check. It was
Another 7 years.
yeah,
It was an 8-year deal, right?
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense
You know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying? Like I don't let he's 23 and he's signed until 2030.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you've given them ample
yeah.
opportunity,
I'm like,
right?
hey,
For sure.
I'm not gonna go commit money to this guy, and he's a
For
UFA
sure.
after that. So hey, I'm gonna walk away. I love you, Nick. You're my captain. But but seriously, if you don't win a cup at that point, I'm gonna walk away and start again. I'm not gonna commit big dollars to you because that's just not with the mindset of winning a cup. I'm talking about. People are always like, oh, and there are a lot of fans out there that they want to commit the money. I don't know if they're just stupid. They're like, oh no, we can't let this guy go. Like they're so happy Brendan Gallagher is staying for $6.5 million of
I
garbage.
know.
I'm like, you guys don't realize this guy's costing you. He's not gonna win. You're not gonna win anything with this guy on your roster.
Nope.
Gotta get rid of this bum. So and all due respect to Brendan Gallagher, if you're listening, Brendan, I really like you,
Yeah.
but 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 I'm serious, man. Like, learn to pick a corner, buddy. That's all I gotta say.
You know what? While you're on the Habs topic, I'll give you two little things that I heard that I'm sure you have as well, your opinion on. The first one is Dubois. He got interviewed again recently, and he was non-committal to staying in Winnipeg. And the talk is he basically his heart is in Montreal. He wants to end up in Montreal. He's going to play out his contract and go sign as a UFA in Montreal. Like that's the first one. And the second one is I didn't know this, but Pat Brisson is the agent
Right.
for Caulfield, and apparently he's like I forget his name. You know that asshole agent for baseball? That's like he
Oh,
drives up all the prices.
yeah.
He's the dirt bag. Like he's always like he thinks he's like God. He holds a press conference at the beginning of every
Oh wow.
um
Okay.
off season. Like he's this big shit. He talks about everything. He gets involved in every team's business.
Okay.
He's just brutal. And Paperson is basically a mini version of him.
Okay.
And they're saying that Paperson is saying that Caulfield, he's going to like hit a home run with Caulfield to make sure that he sets the tone for other people to know that this is what I do for my clients, right? These young guys
Brocious,
coming up.
Oh God.
is it
And
Scott
I'm like,
Brocious?
oh,
Oh, not
yes, Scott Boris. That's it. Scott Boris.
Boris, right.
Yes. And that's why I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, I
Please.
guess. Like, it kind of, but
Please, home run. As soon as Caulfield got his shoulder surgery, I took $1 million off of his contract. That's it. That's all I know.
It's
We'll
gonna
see.
work, guys. Look
Well,
at Boston. Why is Boston such a good team for so long? They don't have any cap issues. That's it. It comes down to that. There's nothing else.
yeah, you got to
We
manage.
look at you look.
It's not
Sorry,
rocket science. It's not rocket science, man. We all played
it's
hockey.
not.
We all played hockey. It's not this hard. If you want good players, if you want a good team, you need good players. If you it and the better your players are, the better your team are going to be. If you got a certain amount of money to pay those players, if every single player takes a little bit less, collectively, you're going to be better. Fact. That's it. I don't know what else to
It
say.
is a fact.
in all fairness, though, Boston signed those contracts like in an era that was a little bit different, right? Like they
Mm.
got those guys. Like who was their
Oh, but
big contract,
they've always
right?
been this way though,
But no,
Tomas.
but then what? So if that is correct, then
They
Pasternak would be signing 9, 8,
yeah,
maybe
well,
9.5,
now you know
and that's
why?
not going to
Well,
happen, right?
now you know why I think he's going to go. That's my thought. I could be wrong, and I will admit that I'm wrong if he stays, but I think he's going to go. I
All
do.
signs point to him already agreeing in terms of years. They're just struggling on the last
Okay,
digit.
okay, yeah, that's a big struggling. Like obviously on the years, it's a
Sure.
no-brainer if you're gonna re-sign the player. You want max years, like 8
No,
years.
what I'm saying is 11.5 and 13. Like that's the asking price right now. They're fighting and they're going to meet in between. Like
They
that's
sell
the
they sell
latest.
winning, but they sell winning. They sell the culture there. I mean, eventually someone's going to be making that kind of money. But how do you not pay Pasternak? The guy, he's just a beast. That guy. Is he going to be
No,
as good
but
without Bergeron? I don't know, but
don't you
I don't
remember
know.
we had the same conversation with McKinnon? Like everyone was saying about like how everyone's screwed this and that. I'm like, okay, let's see when they come around again if these guys start taking less. And it's not happening. These guys, NHL did not get paid like the NFL players and
Yeah,
major league players like $40 million. Like
I
to
get
them,
it. But
2 million,
12 and a half is nothing to sneeze at either. But
sure, for sure.
if he went UFA, he would have got more.
Who, McKinnon?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. He could
But he
have got a
also won a
blank check
cup,
from
you know.
people.
But he also delivered. At the end of the day, if a team delivers, I think they should be paid. Whether like
Yeah,
Crosby was and
yeah.
Tays was,
Taves,
and
Kane.
like why
Yeah,
not?
But you need to be careful
Doughty,
too, right? Because then what
you
happens
do have
is
to be
like
careful.
what they did to LA. Remember LA? They paid their stars
yeah,
after the fact,
yeah,
and then it's like,
yeah.
you
But then
know,
then you gotta move them. Yeah, it's that simple. Like I'm not saying it's easy to move them, but you do need to decide that you got to move them. But they didn't, and now they still got that old core, young core thing, right? So it's not the end
yeah,
of the world. Like you know what I'm saying? Like as much as I would have moved on from a Kopitar because I want to maximize a return on the guy, I do understand it's harder to move those bigger contracts, no doubt about it. So you don't want to you create that mess for yourself when you sign that deal, right? That's why I said like when Suzuki is gonna up for resign, I'm like, sorry, no, you're gone. I'm not signing
mm.
you. You know what I mean? Like it's that simple for me. I'd rather
How
start
old will
over.
he be, Mike, when his contract's up?
30, I think.
He's
Hmm.
still a kid. I think Suzuki's perfect age for that contract. To me,
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
well, that's what I said. I like the deal when they signed it. Yeah, he's gonna be 30. It's perfect to me. That's a perfect. They did a good job. It's the one of the few things Bergevin did that I agreed
What
with.
was what was his term? What's his AAV?
And 7.875. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know why that it took so much heat. Like I get it, like his points aren't there, but 7 point whatever, that's not.
Yeah, well, that's what I
I
said
don't
from the
know.
that's what I said
I
from the
think that's
start. I
manageable.
thought it was a good deal. Like and again, he's playing on a team that did not they really didn't play hockey. It was an awful team to watch. They just didn't play offense at all. So now that he's
Yeah,
got the reins off, like he's playing free and loose, he's not a 100 point man, but he's definitely a 70 point man, and
yeah.
70 to 80 on a good in a good year, and that's fair market value for that, I think. But anyway,
I think the
it's
value comes in 3 years from now when your team is back on the rise and you got him
yeah,
surrounded with
right,
competent players.
yeah,
Then
exactly,
you'll be like, oh, now
yeah,
he's
exactly,
doing 80 points, making
exactly,
7.5, and the salary
exactly,
cap has gone up.
right,
Now
right.
you're not insulting the guy anymore.
Yeah.
Now the narrative switched,
Well,
and everyone's talking like, oh, what a great
yeah,
contract,
but
because that's what these idiots are.
that's the dummies on the Athletic who did that. Like
Yeah.
I said it from the start. I'm like, based on what? Some calculation? Like, and again, I know stats matter, but that also means that a perfect example is why stats don't always matter. You know what I mean? Because when you're
Yeah.
evaluating a player, stats are a result. It's historical. It's not potential, right? When you're evaluating a player and you see potential,
Hmm.
obviously there's a little bit of you never know how a player's going to turn out, but that's what you're doing. You're betting on a player to turn out, like what um, Buffalo
H.
did
Thompson.
with Tage Thompson, exactly, and
Yeah.
with Minnesota is doing with Matt Boldy too. Like they're saying,
Yeah.
yeah, is it a little early to be committing this money to this guy? Yeah, maybe, but 7 million isn't a
No.
brutal AAV, right? I like that deal
No, not at
for
all.
Minnesota too. So
Smart business, I'm telling you.
yeah,
I'd rather spend that money on young talent, up and coming, that's gonna be part of your core, than an aging vet like a Trocheck
exactly.
or something like that, or even a Miller. I wouldn't
Yep.
like. I'd be so scared to do that,
Yep.
because you don't know what's gonna happen in 3, 4, even
It's gonna
by
fall off the
in
cliff.
5 years from now. Oh
Yep.
my God,
Yep.
what are you gonna do with this
Oh,
guy?
you don't want to
You
you don't
know,
want to look at that. But that's what people don't do. People don't project. People are like, "Oh, that's another problem." Like that's another GM anyway. That's his
that's
issue.
the other GM's
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I won't be around that long, right? Oh my
Nope.
God. But that's what like,
Don't
again,
worry.
that's what Bergevin did when he signed Gallagher, right? Like what a mess he left. So hey, like that is the reality of the situation. When you're a GM, you take over a team, you're inheriting so many mistakes, and the first thing you got to do is say, okay, how do I fix these issues, right? And you gotta, back to the Vancouver thing again. You gotta decide, what are my biggest issues? What are the ones that got to be made? The decisions I have to make soon, and when I'm looking at this roster, oh, it's not going to be easy for Alvin. Hope Alvin has got uh, his his plan in place, because I don't know what he's going to do with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's a that's a nasty one. Oh my God, he's 31 years old
I
and he's
have
got
no idea what they're
two,
gonna do with
three,
them. They're
four,
gonna end up having to buy him out at some point because
5 more
No,
years.
no. So here's my thinking about all of our Larson, right? Um, if they do the right thing, then they might not. They'll be okay because if when you tank, you're getting rid of all your talent, but you still have to hit the cap floor, right?
True, true.
So you need guys like him to bring your contracts up.
Yeah.
So or
So
else you're
he's
gonna
just
end up
gonna
taking
play,
like Weber's
and
and
he's
stuff.
not and he's not good
Yeah,
enough. He's not good enough to make them win, right?
yeah,
So
he's
yeah,
perfect.
you're right. Yeah, he's a
He's
perfect.
great. He's a body that eats up minutes, and
Yeah,
he's still a good guy on the locker room, right? Like he's still like I think
it's a good way to
if they
look at it.
go the right way, if they tank for the next 3 years, for example, then I think just let him play out until it's like his last year. Like right now, Myers, right? They're talking about trying to trade Myers.
Yeah,
Nobody's taking Myers now because he still has term.
yeah,
But next year,
yeah. He'll be more.
if you want to trade him,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing.
No, that's
Another
the thing.
example is JVR.
Yeah,
Who in the right mind would trade for JVR last year? Nobody. They
yeah,
tried to trade for JVR even at the draft. Nobody would touch that guy in that contract. But now, because his contract's expiring at the end of the year,
yeah. It's
and then
risk.
even if Philly
It's
eats half of his salary,
it's
well,
no
like, what
risk.
are you risking
It's
now?
no risk. Yeah,
Now you can do it.
yeah,
So now all of a sudden he becomes an asset. So just wait another year for
yeah.
Myers,
That's a good
and
way
then
to
in
look at it.
2, 3 years,
Yeah.
who cares what Oliver Clarkson
What
does?
about Kuzmenko? What would you do with him?
I think the problem is he's an unrestricted free
Right,
agent
right,
in 2 years.
right.
So you need to decide in a hurry.
Well, they just
Like
did.
you
They
literally
signed him to 2 years. They already decided. But yeah, you're right. They should have a
no,
plan.
but
Yeah,
yeah. So you're signing him for 2 years. For me, that was a band-aid, right? Like they just want to kick the ball down the field for a little bit.
yeah,
They're just like, we don't know what to do with this guy.
yeah.
We don't know what our plan is right now, but we
Oh
don't want to lose him.
man,
That to me is what that contract says to me.
I would have
So you
considered
keep
trading
him,
him.
and
Wouldn't you have considered trading him now? That would have been a lot harder to do because he's on a $950,000 salary, right?
what do you mean? Why would it be harder?
Because
you mean RFA, right?
no,
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 but why would it be harder now?
yeah, no,
Like
no.
you mean
Giancarlo,
now after the
Giancarlo's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, would they still be? I guess that's what I'm thinking. Like, would they still be considering moving him now? Like right
why
now?
not?
Yeah,
They could
yeah.
probably move him. Yeah, why not?
It's true. Would it have been more attractive for a team to sign him, like to negotiate their own contract with him, or is that term and money okay? I don't know. Again, it's just I understand, I guess, why they would want to do it, but I'm
I don't
trying
think
to.
the term or the money scares anyone away. Like you almost did the other team a favor
Yeah,
by putting him under contract. So in
yeah. It's
one
not a
way,
bad deal. It's not a bad deal.
I don't think it's like he's a 20
Yeah, he looks like a
20
top
goal
six.
man, right? I think
He
we
looks like a
agree
top six
on that,
player.
right?
Yeah, he's not a kid either. He's a 26-year-old guy, right?
Mhm.
So he's a man. It's not like he's need to grow or whatever. And he's like he's been. Was he playing in the KHL? Giancarlo, where did this guy come
Yeah.
from? Yeah.
I think it was the KHL. Was it the KHL, Russo? I know he was
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah, I'm
in
looking at
Europe.
it. I'm looking at it now. He was in a few different places, but yeah, KHL. He was a point a game in the KHL, and now he's come here and he's almost a point a game. So I would have confidence that this guy would continue to score. He's got 20 goals now in 47 games, so he's gonna score more than that, I think. So yeah, this is. I would back to my original point. I would consider trading this guy right now because the value that you would get for this player for the team trading for him would be huge this year because he's paid nothing practically, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they could fit him in, and this guy's going to score 20, 30 goals in the NHL. Like imagine adding that to your lineup, right? Like
For sure.
if I'm a Colorado Avalanche, this is a guy I'm adding, right? Like for
You
sure.
know what? It all comes down to this. I just ask you one question. What is your goal? What is your plan for this team? And if
Tank. You
that's
have
the
to tank.
tank,
Yeah, you have to tank.
then that's it. There's nothing else really to talk about. Like you move any asset you can.
Yeah, but
Like
I'm
it
trying to
like
maximize the return, right? Like I'm not saying, yeah, anybody can make a trade, but you got to trade for the right return. And I'm trying to say,
oh
okay, when is the right time to move this guy for how much? I think it's now. I think you capitalize on this now. This guy had a great
well
rookie
you
year. You don't have to worry about sophomore whatever crap. You say, yeah, he's up for sale now. Done, right?
well the good thing
Talking
about
about
this 2-year deal is it buys you time. You can put them on the market right now and say, okay, what do we got here? And
Yeah.
if people start giving you second round pick or
No, no.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah, then you just pull them. And then in the off season at the draft, when he's hopefully scored 30 goals,
Yeah.
now you have a 30 goal scorer on a $5 million contract. That's some good, that's a
Yeah.
good asset right there.
Yeah, I
You
guess
can move them then.
I'm thinking of the playoffs though, like with the cap implications, right? Like a guy making $900,000,
Oh yeah.
that's going to score 30 goals. Anybody could fit this guy. The Leafs could fit this guy. Why don't the Leafs trade for this
guys,
No,
guy?
but guys,
no.
you're
Dave,
talking about Vancouver.
why don't the Leafs trade for him, Dave?
We're talking about Vancouver here, guys. We went through this before this mess. They're not gonna tank. They're not.
Oh, I feel
I
bad.
don't I
I
don't
feel bad.
I don't think they have a plan. If I'm a fan of Vancouver, I'm pissed off right now that they haven't unloaded a bunch of guys because they're not willing to tank.
The fact that we're talking about tanking to win,
It's bad.
it irritates me. It's a problem. It's a big problem, man.
You know what a problem
Not for
is that
Batman. Not
Yeah.
for Batman.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't believe in that tanking's going on.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
that's the
exist.
doesn't
funny part.
Doesn't
yeah,
exist.
he lives in a bubble, literally, that guy. But listen, at the end of the day, when it comes down to other sports, we talk about what's wrong with hockey. Whereas all the other sports, they talk about how amazing things are. And it seems like with us, it's always like, whether it's, you could say, well, we're being negative, but we're also seeing how it's hindering the progress of the sport. We see the cap issues. We see the way teams are tanking, the way they see that they can make the draft more exciting, but it's hindering. Like you guys mentioned before, there's no hockey trades anymore. It's very rare. There's not, the excitement is just not there with that should be there. It's just not. And is it an easy fix? No, but it doesn't seem like they're trying to make it better. That's my issue, is that they're not even trying. This stupid, like, oh well, your percentage is lower if than it was before, but it's still there. I would still tank as well. It just doesn't look good.
Well,
Oh,
Bettman, just to go
oh.
to Bettman's, what's going on? What do you see?
Did you hear about Edmondson?
No. What happened?
Edmondson's hurt.
How
Like
bad?
tonight.
Yeah, he's gone for the game. And Frank Saravelli's reporting another potential trade target hurt.
I
Like
didn't
I
see
guess
that.
he's referring to Shane Gossespierre.
Yeah.
Shane Gossespierre's gone now for like 8 weeks. I think it was 7 or
Hmm.
8 weeks. So there goes that idea of
Oh,
getting a decent
stop.
return
Don't
for him.
ever
Who the hell
exaggerate.
wants him anyway?
Don't exaggerate. They know that it's precautionary. Dude, you don't you're so quick to jump on the Canadians that nothing's gonna go well for them. You don't
Who,
understand.
me?
Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You don't understand
No.
the
I just call
Canadians.
it as it is.
You don't understand the way the Canadians are operating this right now, Tommaso. Everybody is out for 12 weeks, okay? Every single person's hurt. You think they want their guys to get hurt? They know if a guy, I'm not saying he didn't tweak something, but I guarantee you, if a mosquito landed on his leg, they're gonna say, "Hey, Joel, it's time to sit down, buddy. We saw that mosquito. It's time to sit down." So I had the reason why I'm laughing is because the game was on beside me. I'm not saying he didn't get hurt, but they are being so like
Careful.
as soon as somebody sneezes, they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy's hurt." Everybody's out for the season.
From what
Montreal's
I read about
tanking, right?
Edmondson, didn't Edmondson come out and say he doesn't want to be traded?
Yeah, of course he did. Who does want to be traded, right? What's he gonna say?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're playing in
Anyone from
Montreal right
Arizona?
now, but even Montreal, I think you'd want to get traded.
Buddy,
Go to a cup contending team.
Montreal's a great place to play.
Oh
like
yeah, for sure it is. But don't you want to win a cup?
he's
I mean,
already
I
won a
don't know.
cup. Again, not everybody is.
Win another one.
I understand what you're saying. Not everybody's built that way though. Right? He's got 2 years left on his deal, and he likes being a Canadian, so he doesn't want to go. But anyway, whatever. I think the Canadians are doing this on purpose. As soon as somebody is under the weather or whatever, they're being very cautious and they're just pulling guys from the lineup, and that's why they're losing.
That's
They,
smart though.
yeah, it is smart, but that's why they are
Hey, man.
tanking. Like Bettman can say whatever he wants about teams are not tanking, but yeah, okay, that's like, and to quote him, he said the players and the coaches don't do that. Yeah, that's right, but the players and coaches don't decide who is on the roster. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like the GMs are saying, yeah, sorry, we're trading this guy and we're bringing this guy up, and like that, you're gonna by default lose if you have inexperience playing in the league, and that's what the Canadians are doing, right? Like they're not trying to win, and I think that it's it's not a secret. It irritates me that they have to do this in order to get better. But I think I was watching an interview yesterday, and it was Jamal Myers who said it, and was it Jamal Mayers, and he basically said it like he goes, tanking is the way to win. Like he goes, it's sad, but it's the truth. He goes,
It is.
if you want to win, you need to be bad for a little while, and then you reap the benefits down the road. It's just the way it is.
It is.
You know.
It is. But then you also have to have the right draft, right?
Yes,
I mean, a
you
lot
got to
of it
make
has
sure
to do with,
you got to get the right guy.
you know.
Yep.
And I know we talk about it's harder to miss now, the top 5 picks, but it happins, man.
Some years are
We're just,
not
you
as
guys
good
are,
as others. Yep.
yeah, and you guys are just talking about what's the name, Byfeld, the guy in
Yeah.
L.A.
Yeah.
Sometimes these guys we don't get to watch them a lot. Maybe out of all 4 of us, Giancarlo probably keeps an eye on these guys more than all of us. But how do we just go by what these insiders
true.
really say, and
It's true.
they overhype these guys to no extent. Now, it's too much now. Like even with Knies, I know you guys love Knies. Have we ever really seen him play 60 minutes? I haven't. I can't make a comment on this guy, but
Look what, like, if you're going to make assessments, right? Slavkovsky is a good example. Like he's raved, and who was it? Was it Bob McKenzie that said he was Jagger-like? I
Okay.
think
Yep,
was
he
Giancarlo
did.
what you said. Yeah.
He
So based
With the
upon
club, yeah.
one tournament,
I'm just not gonna say
right?
anything.
It was one tournament that he excelled at, and it's like, okay, like maybe he saw something. Like that's why scouts have this job, right? They see something, like you see
Right.
something. And Dave's right. Unless you can actually look at them and you watch them play, just like all 4 of us. Like when we watch a game, we watch a player,
Mm-hmm.
something sticks out to you.
Yep.
Like something's like, okay, this kid's got a shot.
Yep.
This guy's got speed.
Yep.
Like something sticks out to you.
Right.
I think everyone here has that ability to see something special, right?
Yep.
And someone saw that in Slavkovsky for sure. And that's why I think in years from now, I think we'll be having this conversation with the kid, and I think he'll be a player. Knies, you don't need much. When you see that kid playing on the ice, like just in terms of just the way that he performs around everyone else, like you see that he's got that something special. He's got something that can separate from the rest. And does that make him a superstar in NHL? No, because fourth line wingers were superstars in their OHL team,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
it's true.
I don't know, but the way I look at it is we got a guy in Bunting who couldn't even make Arizona Coyotes. Like that, no one in the league didn't even want this kid. Like he was a very marginal guy, and now he goes and you put him on the Leafs,
Yep.
and look what he does. So imagine a guy who actually has skill. Imagine a guy who actually has pedigree. Like you can't be any worse than what Bunting's gonna bring to the table. So I don't know. I
I like
think
that. I think
Knies
that's
is a good fit.
I think that's well said. Do you think that now I saw multiple reports this week that the Leafs were not shopping Knies, but his name is on the table potentially for some trades. Is that true, or did I misread that?
I, I think you got different reports from different people. I think rentals, he's off the table, right? If it's something with term and it's like that home run that's gonna push him over the top, I
Yeah.
think you have to consider it. I think Dave's right. Like I think that's their thinking. They're gonna have to consider that trade because
Hmm.
you're not getting that's their ace in the hole. When they're talking to teams about a guy like whoever, I don't know what guy that would require a big get, like a Meyer from San Jose or whatever. Like the first name that's popping up on their names is nice.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Because the Leafs they're not, their cupboard isn't full of these incredible prospects. Nick Robertson was their number one prospect for the past couple of years. And then Knies came along and overtook that. And who wants Nick Robertson right now? I
Right.
think his value's down.
Yeah, it's
And
down
I
for
don't think
sure. He's not going
I don't think
anywhere.
you're getting much for him. Yeah,
No,
I don't
no,
think you're
he's not.
getting much for him.
He's not going anywhere now.
So
Yeah.
so it's got to be nice. So you got to ask yourself if the deal becomes available to you that you feel like this is a deal that potentially could push us over the top in a series with Tampa. Are you willing to risk trading Knies?
Oof.
And that's all it comes down to, right?
So I guess I mean it's all hypothetical, but have you ever given any thought about a player that you would sacrifice Knies for?
Who's the who's the guy?
Well, that's what I'm
Like
asking you.
maybe the Meyer guy from San Jose. Like that's who you hope Knies becomes, right? Like that's what you hope he becomes, a physical power forward that could score 30 goals. That's what he does right now. That's what Myers brings to the table. He's
Yeah.
a net front presence. He's everything that Knies hopefully becomes. And Dave said this a million times. Prospects are prospects. Like, how many times did they actually turn out? Like, it's very rare that a prospect turns out. So,
Yeah.
for me, a deal like that
But
makes
Meyer,
sense,
but okay,
right?
so Meyer is an RFA and you're willing to give
So,
him, but he needs to get that 10 million bucks,
so
right?
no, that's not. So what you do is
You have to
you
spread it
sign an
out.
extension.
Yeah.
No, you sign him to an extension, and you can renegotiate it. So then you can go up to him and say 8 years, $8 million.
Yeah,
So
okay.
now he doesn't go to arbitration for that 10 million,
I see.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And but
But
then again, like if you
but
do something like that, another piece has to go for Toronto because where are you going to fit that, right?
yeah, exactly. But that's good that you had that name in mind though. Dave, what do you think of Meyer?
You talking about Timo Meyer?
Yeah.
You talking about in a nice trade?
Yeah, a 1-for-1.
Well,
Let's just make it easy.
okay,
One
but
for one.
I think you guys discussed this last week. How much is this guy gonna make?
But that's what we said. Like, let's assume that he's going to get an $8 to $8.5 million contract, and like Tommaso just said, you're going to need to move something to accommodate, but after the fact. But let's
What
just
did
say
he
that
make
they would.
now?
He makes 6.
So how are you fitting him into this team today?
San Jose would have to
Well,
eat
it's
half.
it's prorated too, so yeah, they'd be able to eat half, and that would be $3 million, and then the $3 million is prorated based on how much season is left. So I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, but I would assume that the Leafs are doing all this cap gymnastics in order to clear as much space as possible, if they've got a target. But let's assume that they can make that fit, Dave. What do you think? It's not out of the realm of
Tough, man.
possibility to make it fit.
No, it is, and I think it just depends how they value Knies, right? That's what it comes. I don't know what they value.
What do you do though? What do you think? What do you
I don't
think?
know. It depends how you fit them under the cap, because it can't be 1-for-1 and they eat half the salary. It's not enough. They got to take Kerfoot back or something. They got to take something
Okay,
back,
so you want
right?
something to go back. Okay, so that's the again, like I would love to get rid of Kerfoot too. So uh, either way, what do you think? Let's assume that those things happen and you add whatever needs to be added. What do you think of the player?
You want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
It's still not enough for this team to win the cup. And if it's not enough to win a cup, I don't make this trade.
So you would rather have a guy like Knies and try to start
It's
over, or at least take another shot
I
at it
don't.
with him. I'm inclined to agree with you. Like I don't know anything, but I see Tomaso's point, right? It's now or never. Like this is your time to go.
No,
And
It
I
is
don't want
however,
to
but
trade Knies. I've never wanted to trade Knies. I'm just saying if you want to go
hypothetically,
down
yeah,
that
yeah,
route,
I understand. Yeah,
that's the only guy that you make a trade.
yeah,
You
that's
don't
fair.
trade a
That's fair.
Knies for McCabe. You don't know, for Chicago defenseman, because that's the other guy that everyone's talking about. You don't trade Knies for a McCabe.
No, I
Like that
understand.
would be
no.
ridiculous.
You trade McKay for a second or a top, high first, like a low first. I mean, but no. That's why is Myers coming up? I don't get it. Is Myers supposed to put this team over the top now? I don't
No,
get
no,
it.
no. Tomaso brought him up because I said name a player that you would want to acquire for Nice. Not saying Tomaso wants to trade
Basically, if you
Nice,
had to trade
but if you had
Knies,
to
who would
trade
it
Nice,
be?
yeah, if you had to trade Nice,
Who would it be?
who would you
And
want to
to
get
me, the
back?
only guy on the market right now, like if I'm
Feasible.
talking realistic,
Yeah,
right?
feasible. Yeah.
It'd be
Never
Meyer.
thought of. No, I can't. It's a good name. I haven't thought about Meyer at all. Meyer might fit a team like, I don't know. I'm thinking like the Rangers. He would fit if you can fit him under there. Like they need him more than the Leafs do. But I think the Leafs need more on the back end than anything than a middle six forward. Not a like Myers is going to be what? He's going to be another. He's going to be a first line player. Like is there enough pucks to go around for this guy? Like it's just the wrong philosophy. But that's my opinion, and I don't know. I've never really thought about who's available because, to be honest with you, the Leafs are pretty quiet. You don't hear anything. You really don't hear anything come out of here. If you hear Knies is on the block, I think it's bullshit. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen. And you're right, it could be just hype because these guys want people to click on their articles and stuff, right? And they're like, "Oh, Matthew Knies,"
Yeah,
right? Matthew Knies is on the trade block, so someone automatically clicks, and I fell for it and I read it. But hey, at the end of the day,
I
do you
I
expect
get it.
Knies to play? Okay, so but it goes two ways. It,
I think Knies is going to be playing in the
that's
playoffs. That's my opinion.
that was gonna be my other question. If they don't trade, it goes two ways, three ways. It could be one, you trade Knies in a deal. Two, uh, Nyes plays for you, or three, Nyes doesn't play in the playoffs and says, "See you next year."
You know how I feel about having. You have to have a strong Canadian contingent on your team. Guys with heart, guys that play hard, know what the cup is all about. Where is he from, Meyer? He's European, obviously. Where
he's
is he from?
American. He was
No,
Arizona.
No, no, no,
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
No, Timo Meyer? No, I'm
Timo
talking
Oh,
about
Myers.
sorry.
Timo Meyer.
I thought you said Knies.
No, no.
No, sorry,
Timo Meyer's from Switzerland. Yeah.
That's it. For me, it's a red flag with the cross in the middle. But literally, it's like I don't know,
That's
I don't
man.
know. That
I just don't
Landeskog
like.
guy is pretty good, and Ratning,
yeah, but
they're pretty good. But
Landeskog's different.
I
Come on,
don't know.
My
Landeskog.
That
point is,
Forsberg guy is not too bad.
It's true.
no, they're
Like those are
not. But
pretty
I'm
good
saying,
Finland,
but
Swedish players.
I get it as an add-on, but this team doesn't have that toughness that it needs to add a guy like that.
I think Dave's right though. I don't think Timo Meyer pushes the Leafs to the cup because the Leafs have absolutely no problem scoring. If you want to go against the Leafs in a scoring contest, I don't like your chances. Like the Leafs can score 4 or 5 goals like it's nothing.
But that's what they're trying to do, though.
On the playoffs, though.
Okay,
Yeah, but
I'll
that's
let you
what,
finish.
that's
I'll
what
let
Dave's saying.
yeah.
Timo Meier adds absolutely nothing to that because, okay, then now you have another guy who can score 30, 40 goals.
Hello, that's pretty damn good. I'm saying that
It is,
I'm not.
but
I'm not.
that's not what they need.
I'm not disagreeing with the fact that the Leafs need a little more defense, but let's just hear out the opposite argument. And if you get a guy like Timo Meier and you play a guy like Timo Meier down in your lineup, then you're shifting people. You know, either putting Timo Meier in your top six or you're shifting someone else out of your top six. Now, I don't know if a Bunting,
Yarncroft
I don't know if
goes
Bunting
down
or
to no,
yeah, but those guys are not really top six players, to be honest.
no.
If you
Top
ask me,
Meyer goes to the second line with Tavares
yeah,
and Mitchie or Willie, whatever he decides, and Yarncroft gets dropped down to the checking line. That's basically what would happen.
yeah, I don't know.
And I don't know, like I kind of
It's
disagree
tough.
with your point, like in terms of Leafs don't need scoring. Like as funny as it sounds, Leafs secondary scoring has hurt them the most because as soon as they shut down Matthews and Marner, like that's been the problem, right, with this
That is
Leafs
a
team.
problem. That is the problem. If those guys lifted their weight, they wouldn't need any more scoring. It's sad that they need more scoring. Like, fuck, that's your strength, and you need more of it instead of going with their weaknesses, which is they have no identity in the bottom six. They really don't. Especially like
Exactly.
they don't have an energy line. They don't have a hard hitting defenseman. They had two last year. They let one walk, and the other one literally can't play anymore. And they've not addressed that. And you're not going to get that space in the playoffs. I don't care. We've seen it too many times. It gets annoying now to the point where people are finally seeing that, yeah, in the playoffs, you got to fight for that space. Are these guys willing to go that extra mile? And they haven't until now. What's going to change? What's going to change? They could even rally for Tavares when they were up 3-1 and put Montreal away, and knowing he was going to come back, they still couldn't get over the hump on that. What's going to change now?
I think they're nuts if they trade Knies. I mean, I totally understand that prospects don't ever like always pan out. Like it's always a risk, but this guy's a power forward. He there's not many guys like him, and he's excelling in the American university system. If this is happening in the Canadian juniors, I've already said this many times, I lower my expectations, but he's being dominant in the US, and I don't know. He was supposed to get drafted higher. I can't remember why he did it. I think he had an injury or something, and or else he would have gone higher. He wouldn't even been a Leaf. So the Leafs got a steal with him, and I don't see why you trade this guy for a rental. I understand the term thing. It's arguable if you're gonna trade the guy and you're gonna get a player with term. I mean, sure, but he's 20 years old and he's going to be on his entry level contract for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
How do you trade him? He has top six potential if he pans out. And I know you hate ifs, and I know if is an if, but if this guy pans out, he is a hell of a top six player.
Okay, so let's quickly, you know how I say that I'd like to have a floor and a ceiling for a player. Just quickly, what would you think a floor and a ceiling for Knies would be? And when I say floor, I mean the bare minimum points he would get in a year versus the highest he could get.
I don't think that it's so much about the points with him. I don't see him really putting up.
Okay,
I
I
think
understand.
would be around
what you're
70.
saying. 70
Yeah,
points.
I think it's 70-ish, maybe 80 would be his ceiling.
Oof,
But
That's
more confident at 70. I think but it's other things that he's gonna have, right? That power play, stand in front of the net presence, that physicality that he'll bring. Just being that body to get the puck.
Is he more of a goal scorer?
Matthews.
Is he more of a goal scorer or like a
yeah.
playmaker?
Oh yeah,
he likes to score. He likes to score.
I mean, it's hard to score that many goals and get that many points. Not many guys can do that. So I would say 70 is a bit high. If he turns out to be like a 30-30 guy, that's pretty good.
30-30 guy is what I was gonna say is what I kind of think he would be more of. You were asking ceiling. I think 70 would be probably his ceiling.
Okay,
80,
so on a good
80 is tough because if
80's
you're
a bit
playing
of
with
a
guys
reach.
like Marner and
That's
Matthews,
fair.
I know, but I mean Bunting looks like he can maybe pull it off playing with Matthews and Marner, right? Because you just have to get them that puck. That secondary assist counts, right?
It's true. You're
Yeah.
right. They
Bunting
definitely have
Bunting
the
had 23
supporting
goals,
cast.
40 assists, 63 points last
Last
year.
year?
Okay. Yeah, that's Michael Bunting.
Well,
He's
that's
just a
my
little
point.
piece of
Well, he's
poop.
6 feet, but yeah.
He's just nothing. Like imagine someone with the hands of Knies, the physicality, everything. Like the
How's
biggest
his
thing that we got to
skating?
draw from
How's his
this, he's a
skating?
very good skater. For a big guy, he could skate.
Okay.
So he's good. I think everything we've said today, what Giancarlo said about his value who has an entry level contract, you're going to have a guy like him for 3 years making nothing.
Yeah.
That value in the cap world,
Yeah.
you can't overestimate. Like that's so huge.
Yeah.
Like you can't like look what keeps happening with the Leafs.
That's
You
true.
keep bringing in garbage after garbage every
Yeah,
offseason
they're
to
trying to
try to
find.
fill in
Yeah, they're
holes.
trying to fill holes with guys like
Yeah,
Gaudette. Who they
guys
get?
like him, you don't trade.
They always.
He's got
What I
agree.
think should happen is that he's going to replace Nylander, and Nylander, a smart GM would trade him this summer. That's what you have to do. If you're a smart GM and don't want to fall behind and have a plan in place, because you can't sign Nylander, he can't be part of this team. He can easily demand 9 to 10 million the way he's playing, or he can walk. So it's like this is where you got to put your smart hat on and say, okay, if Knies can take his spot, making 950, whatever it is, and I can pay Marner and Matthews whatever they want, 12 million, whatever it is. Then you've got your replacement and you've got money in the bank. That's depending on what you do in Nylander. You can't let him walk. That's all I know. Look at Horvat, the position they're in. You can't get into that position. It's just bad management, and it's gonna be an interesting summer because really, if these guys go out first round again, it's gonna be a new GM making these calls. So
well, you just said it, right? I think it all depends on what they do in the playoffs. If they get blown out again and they get knocked out first round, it's a given. Like there's no way that they're gonna come back again with the same core, they gotta be moved. So a guy like Nylander always gets popped up because why? Because he's the easy one to move,
No, it's
right?
not the
He's
easy
only
one.
making 7 million.
Yeah, but it's not the.
no, I go ahead, Mike. Go.
He's got to make more money, Tommaso. Like
Yeah.
the reality is, he's having a fantastic year, so he's going to say, "I want this money," and there's going to be a GM out there that will give him that money. So
Rate's going to be the highest between Marner and Matthews. Nylander's raise is going to be the most percentage-wise, the biggest raise. So
right.
he's got to be moved because even if you go to the second round, third round, I still think you have to trade him this summer.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters if they get kicked out first round or not.
I'm with Dave. I'm with Dave on this one.
Otherwise, he's going to walk, and then you've lost a huge asset because look how much people are willing to give for, what was it, for JT Miller last year? People were willing to give up a whole bunch of stuff for him, but they couldn't work out a deal. So,
and if you can get those younger players that are going to play in your lineup, that are going to open up those options for you, right? Like if you get Knies and a couple of other players on entry level deals, right?
that goes back to what you guys were talking about before with the Rangers. If Kako and Lafreniere were to take that next step, the Rangers would be fine right now.
Yeah, right. You just got to make sure you got the right guys, right? Like that's why I asked about Knies, because Knies is going to come in and we're penciling him in for 60 points, right? Like not everybody can do that. So hey, we'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah,
And
I'm
the
looking
Leafs
forward
have
to
other
seeing him.
prospects, eh? The Leafs have other prospects they could play with
Like
in
who?
trades. Well, they have
Bamba?
They got Ty
Ty
Voigt.
Voigt. Ty Voigt's playing well. He's the
Ty
guy
Voigt's
that
leading the OHL in points right now. That's that's still pretty good. So he's got his trade chip. They got Alex Steves. They got Abruzzi, Robertson.
Forget about that guy. No.
Abruzzi's
Hey.
actually playing really well now.
I
He's very well in
have
the
value
HL.
in Abruzzi. I like him. I mean,
He's okay.
He's got value. He's not a nice, but
the guy they drafted last year in the first round is supposed to be.
Minton?
Yeah, he's
Minton's
taking.
yeah, he's a
They said
player.
he's playing well. So
yeah,
those could be guys.
another
Those
one.
could be potential moves if
But-
they
But
make
those
any.
guys,
That's what I
those guys
focus.
aren't getting you who you want in the deadline.
No, they can
That's
get
the
you a
problem.
Ty Domi. I think they can get you a Max Domi and something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think the right move, if it's me, I'm getting Domi and McCabe and giving up one of those guys we just mentioned and a second round, let's say, because you can't
Perfect.
trade a first.
That's exactly what I would do too, and then keep Knies and bring him in and use them because they
Yeah.
can use them, near the end of the year, right? So
Yeah.
if they can slot him in as a top 9 and they get a guy like Domi, they just added 2 top 9s instead of a top 6, which they really don't need a top 6. I know Tommaso was saying scoring never hurts when your top guys get shut down. That sounds more like an issue with your bottom 6 and your top 6. Because it's the same problem with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's bottom 6 right now, they just can't score. Jeff Carter couldn't score if he was playing on a soccer net. He just can't score. So it's like maybe the Leafs kind of have a similar problem. So having 2 top 9 guys come in could be huge, right?
The problem with McCabe is the asking price. If you want them to eat salary, it's a first round pick plus. If you want them to take them at $4 million, which the Leafs can't, it's a second round pick.
That's without a prospect, though. I'm adding a prospect to that. McCabe, who's McCabe? He's not a top pairing defenseman. Like, come on, let's be real.
Top 4, top 6.
So McCabe's a really good defenseman. He's a defensive defenseman that plays physical. The reason why his value in the league, no one really knows about him, is because of his injury history. His injury history is like significant. It's not like little injuries, it's big injuries. So that's why like the fear of a guy like him is huge, right? Because like look what happened with Foligno, right? He had back issues, he had all these issues. You give up a first to get him, and then what happened? He couldn't even play. So that's why I think people are a little nervous with McCabe. Like I don't know if I would give up a first for him. That's a dangerous trade.
Even at half the salary, it's a little bit tough.
Yeah. Like maybe the fact that like you got him for 2 years, it makes you feel a little bit better. But for me, I don't know. Like if you haven't learned your lesson by now, trading a first, like look at Sherratt, David Savard, like
David Savard
first round
won a
picks
cup.
for those guys.
David Savard won a
Yeah,
cup.
but he was on the third line.
He won.
Like a third pairing.
But that's the point. That's why they did it. Like
I know. But
they put him. They got a guy that was playing top 4 minutes on a team, and they traded him and played him in their bottom 6, bottom pairing. That's what you do, right? Like
yeah, but Leafs aren't there.
yeah,
Leafs
okay.
aren't
Again, you got.
piece away.
I'm talking about you got to win a cup. Yes, I mean at the end of the day, any trade you make and you win a cup, it's the right deal. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
If Leafs are like one piece away and it costs 2 first round picks, like of course, just do it. Do whatever you got to do. But I think, like Dave said, I think the problem with them is they got too much balance issues. You know, like you got to get rid of Riley, you got to get rid of some forwards, but this management won't do it. So there's no point.
Riley's like JT Miller. He's not going anywhere. His contract just starting. He's not going anywhere. And I think Riley will play better. He just got to be with the right partner, which is sad because if you're a true number 1D, you can play with anybody. Obviously, he needs that protection blanket, whether it's Brody or whoever it is. He needs someone like that. And who knows?
For sure.
Trade deadline's just around the corner, boys. Get ready.